And welcome back to everybody here on Patreon. The individual who is the current paying subscriber, we appreciate that, has chosen the Grumman Albatross to be the aircraft for us to continue on the journey all the way to Anchorage, Alaska. Here we are at Port Hardy in Washington State. And I'm sorry, we're in Friday Harbor, and our destination is Port Hardy up in British Columbia, just over 200 nautical miles northwest of our current location. And if you want to know the ICAO code for Port Hardy in British Columbia, it is CYZT, that's Charlie, Yankee, Zulu, Tango. Both airports are non-air traffic controlled, non-towered airports, so we don't have to deal with air traffic control, and we will be flying at only 10,000 feet, as the Albatross rarely flies above that. If it were to fly above it, it'd be for weather only, and we would have to top off at 12,500 feet. But for now, let's just do a brief walk around, hop into the flight deck, and get everything ready. All right. This is the upgraded avionics, the Garmin G1000 avionics suite, and the draft inks that you're looking at right about here. Those draft inks, those give us that extra. And those extra legs, with the fuel topped off, we would actually be looking at a distance, according to Microsoft and the Sovo, 2,300 nautical miles. So I don't. It's not even. So, if that is true, and that's something that we'll be talking about on the flight, but we'll be going into what the actual performance numbers once we get to our cruising altitude. All right, the left wing looks good to me. Don't see any damage to the flaps, nor aileron, and the float looks good, including the back end of it. Yep, everything looks good here. Let's walk around the tail to hide down there. Big rudder for a big airplane. Left elevator looks good. Trim tab is good. Horizontal stab looks good. Alright, and as for the right horizontal stab, the static wicks are there. And everything looks good. Everything looks good. The landing gear assembly looks good. Hatch over here looks good again. And we'll look at the. Yep, looks. Everything is good. Flap looks good. The fuel dropped ink looks good. And the float. Are we looking good with the float as well? Yes, we are. Okay, leading edge of the wing here. I do have the navigation lights on. Let's see if they work. Looks like they're working. Looks good. Prop looks on the right engine with the moon way off in the distance there. Blades look good. I get a better picture from inside the aircraft. Nose wheel looks good. Alright. And let's look at that landing gear. Let's look at the prop. Looks good. And the landing gear assembly The only reason I double check things like this is because the landing gear assembly on these aircraft are somewhat complex, but at the same time somewhat delicate by the way they were designed many decades ago. Alright, let's use the passenger door to get on board. And yeah, the ladder is it is a glitch in Microsoft Flight Sim 24, but the ladder will disappear once the engines are up and running. So let's go ahead and get on board. And since the flight is long enough, I think we'll have time to give you a brief tour of the passenger cabin. So anyway, like I said, I've got everything pre-flighted up here in flight deck, and I've got the avionics set for a direct course on up to excuse me, Port Hardy. And once we take off out of here, Friday Harbor, we will be entering the airspace in Canada pretty quickly. So we can turn on the flight director, and we'll be getting underway here. Everything up here looks good to me. Fuel pumps, I turned the fuel pumps just before inviting all of you to come on board. Circuit breakers are in. Everything is ready. Hydraulic selector is in the proper place. And we are good to begin to turn engine number 2. The one thing you want to make sure you always do is make sure that before engines start, that your cowl flaps are open. And they're both open. So, how do we start this aircraft? Well, you want to prime the engines first, and what I do is I go by the book, and the book says prime for 3 seconds. So I'm going to hold it down for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, let go. And if you can see the fuel indicators as I was doing that, fuel indicators decided to come alive. Let's just double check that the mixtures are all the way forward and rich. They are. Those two blue lights that you see, those are the prop lever. And it kind of contradicts what's in the book, so I'll be clearing that up once we get in the air, because you don't see any prop levers for the prop condition, i.e. prop pitch. You don't see that. So I'll be going over that with you when we get airborne. Okay. And we'll crack the engine, the throttles. We'll crack them open just a little bit, because we will need that assistance in getting the engines up and running. So let's try it one more time. 1, 2, 1, 2. Sorry about that. 1, 2, 3. And let's crank it. Yeah, sometimes these engines can be a little bit fidgety, without question. And it might have to be primed again. So let's just double check the checklist real quick. Making sure, even though we're doing the right engine, left engine, same thing. Magnetos both are set to on, which they are. Let's just double check that. And they are both on. Yep. Fuel pump we know is on. Prime, we did that 3 to 4 seconds. Generator is on. Just double check that switch is on as well. Just want to make sure it is. It is. Like I said, these airplanes are simply fidgety, if you will. Sometimes it doesn't take on the first start. This is just the way it works with these older aircraft here. Let's get this out of the way. Okay, let's try it again. This time we're going to crank the throttle just a little bit more. Just a little more. There we go. Double check the beacon line. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. And turn. We have rotation. Well, if this is the case, Microsoft and Sobo did not fix the aircraft in update number 2. It's very obvious that they didn't. Let's do this because the checklist isn't the greatest checklist in the world. We have positive fuel flow on both coming into both engines. Battery is good, 25 volts, which is where it has to be. Everything is good there. Manifold pressure. Let me teach you a little secret about manifold pressure and your altimeter setting in these older aircraft. In theory, in any piston air engine, this would work. If you look at if you want to know what the altimeter setting is for your well, if you want to know what the barometric pressure is for your altimeter, and let's say you were somewhere and you had no idea what it was, but you were in an aircraft that has a manifold pressure gauge. Look at the manifold pressure. As you can see, the manifold pressure with nothing on, meaning the engines aren't running, nothing is, you're not trying to start the engine. Notice the manifold pressure. Manifold pressure is just over 30 inches. See that? Not 31, not 32. It's at just over 30. Well, that's because the atmospheric pressure is just over 30 inches itself. 30.08 inches of mercury. That's just a quick little way to do it. Alright, let's see if we can get that engine to crank. Make sure the cowl flaps are open. The reason you want the cowl flaps open is because of heat. You want to dissipate the heat on startup. Prime again. Crank. It simply doesn't want to. Here's what we're going to do. Let's try cranking the left engine first. Fuel switches are on. Both sets to main. Let's just make sure that just making sure all that is good. Okay. That's just the rudder lockout. Try it one more time. I guess we're going to do the left engine. Probably it wouldn't do anything at this point. If it is going to crank, it is going to crank. One more try. There we go. Look out there at the left window. There we go. It's beginning to turn. That's a good thing. the right engine decided to start. Okay, I do not understand that, but we'll take it, right? We'll take it. Get back on the power just a little bit. See what these red indicator lights over here are telling us here. Generators, that's simply because I'm not giving it a lot of power. Those lights should go out once I have the, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. And if you're wondering if this airplane has reverse thrust, it actually does. The prompts do reverse pitch, and they'll help you slow down very well in case you need to. Alright, inverter, let's just go over the basic flow. Pitot heat on. Starter heater not required. Flight deck heat not required. It's not that cold out, not at all. Have our calculated takeoff speeds already in. Make sure those cal flaps are open. Not a lot of people, to the best of my knowledge, not a lot of people fly this aircraft on YouTube. Not a lot of people fly these aircraft on YouTube. It's simply another reason that we decided to do this. When I say these aircraft, I'm talking about amphibious, especially the older ones. Pitot heat light is on, that's because it is on. And nothing else is required. And we are good to go. Let's just go through our taxi checklist real quick. Flight deck door is closed and locked. Flight deck door, yep. And the main exit, being the one at which we boarded. Fuel pumps, they want those fuel pumps to be off. I'll turn them off after. I got a feeling I know what's going to happen when I do turn them off. Let's monitor the fuel flow. That's simply one thing I don't like about it. Okay, we're gonna set flaps out here. For takeoff, I did put a little more fuel in than normal just because of the duration, but I did not fill them up all the way. Your fuel pumps, okay, good. Rudder standby boost, alright, that is this guy back here behind us. This is the rudder boost right here. Navigation, that is on. Transponder. We're flying VFR. So we'll do that right here. We'll simply input the code for 1200, even though I believe that's already in. Go back one. Standby, and we'll go ahead and just say altitude reporting is on, but we are VFR. Good. Altimeter, it is set properly, and park and brake, and we'll be good to go. Trim, we already have the trim set. The one thing it's telling you to set it at a specific setting. Well, when you have as much fuel on board as we do, and you don't fly all that high, like I said, we're not going to be flying any more than 10,000 feet above sea level. We are going to burn more fuel, it's just that simple. So, let's set our decision height here real quick. Let's set it up to 200. That's about right. Alright. As you can see, fuel quantity roughly 1,800 on both sides. And we'll also be talking about the supercharger once we get airborne. Alright, everything is done. Let's make sure that the emergency exit, not the emergency exit, but the main boarding ladder has been stowed. It hasn't. That's what I figured. Um, it will go away once we get underway. It's just it's a glitch that they have yet to fix. Again, not a lot of attention is given these aircraft. It's a shame because they're really fun to fly once you figure it out. The wind here in Friday Harbor is out of the south, so we'll be utilizing runway 16. Alright, taxi lights. We'll go ahead and turn on the landing lights because the runway is literally behind us. Should be extended all the way. Strobe lights coming on. And let's go. We do not need the tug. I don't even know why the tug decided to show up. I have no idea. Let's see if I can do a 180 on it. Yeah, I think we can. Let's give it a try. Nice and easy. That is the one thing I will say about these Grumman, not just the Albatross, but also the Goose. They do turn on a dime. No question about that. Alright. once they get going, they don't want to stop, so you gotta have your feet ready to go on the brakes. Friday Harbor, Grumman 851 Tango Juliet, departing runway 16, Friday Harbor traffic. Alright. Sorry, we're not online to pass them, are we? Alright. Let's see if those landing lights made it on. Yep. Strobe lights. It's something else they've got to work on. Alright. Port Hardy. Here we come. There we go. V1, right about there. Even though that's that late in the game, the airplane does not want to maintain center line at all. Looking good. And positive rate. Gear up, please. Flaps up. Alright, let's hang a left here. fly manually, and once we get on our way, then I'll hand it over to the autopilot. If you watched the previous episode here on Patreon, we flew in on the Dornier Sea Star, and we landed on the water. And there's the harbor to the left where we did so. All right, let's go. Let's go fly over some really interesting terrain. It should be a beautiful flight, all the way up. Still flying manually. And we'll keep our climb rate nice and conservative, so we can continue to build speed here. As you can see, what I'm doing is just a nice shallow turn. You never ever need to overdo it on the roll. Alright, here we go. The estimated flight time, once we get up to 10,000 feet, we should be there in about 1 hour. But it should be a beautiful view, and here we go. How to activate the autopilot. Here's how we do that. It's over here on the left hand side of the Grumman map display around the yaw damper. It does have a yaw damper. Nav. Make sure that goes in. And activate autopilot. There we go. And we do want to go vertical speed. And we want to go nose up. Let's see what it'll do at 1,000 feet a minute. I think I know what it's going to do, but let's just see. Alright, we'll do 800 a minute for now. Even 800, I know the sun is a little difficult to see. We do not have sun visors, so sorry about that. That's something they didn't think about back in the day. Let's see if we're losing airspeed at 800 feet a minute. Yeah, we are. That's alright. We'll lower the nose. Let's see what it does with 500 a minute. One 121 on speed. Looking good. I really wonder if the cowling flaps ever did open up. Let's see if they did. Alright, it looks like the oil cooling doors are open. And according to the gauges here, oil does not need to go oil temperature does not indicate the doors need to be open, so we will close those doors. And let's see if they actually closed. Let's see if they did. If they didn't, okay, I think I have an idea as to what those are. Then they're a little mixed up. Count lamps. That's what I thought. Alright, no, the count lamps are not those two little doors. Count lamps go around the cowling, around the bottom of the cowling and the top, if you can see that. So they have a little bit of work to do in that regard. Alright, that means that the other one has to come to a close. Alright, no need for oil dilution, even though we did need the oil to be diluted a little bit. That system doesn't work in the first place for some odd reason. They kind of miss that. And we can see our generators are working good. And the right generator is also generating power. Okay. And we can go ahead and turn off the landing lights. Only reason we're gonna turn off the extended landing lights, so we're gonna go ahead and retract them. And the reason the reason that we are retracting them is because if they did model proper aerodynamics, those landing lights would actually give us just a little bit of drag. Let's see if they actually did. Let's see if they did. Yep, looking good. And we're beginning to lose a little bit of speed. We're gonna bring those engines back anyway. Not the manifold pressure, but the prop. And this is one very, very, very important thing to know. In this version of the Grumman Albatross, you do not, like I said before we got underway, you'll notice that we have throttles and we have mixture, but we don't have the prop levers, right? And this is where the checklist can be very, very confusing. The prop levers are actually, I should say, the prop condition, which refers to the pitch of the blades on the propellers. There are these two little switches right here. As I move my physical condition lever here on my setup, if I move them back just a little bit, there you go. You can see those two blue lights go out. And we'll come over here to our RPM. And we will be doing a video on engines like this, along with what is the difference between a constant speed prop. We're going to bring the prop back. Looks like we're going to be flying through a little bit of cloud layer. As you can see, I'm not lowering the speed of the engine, what I am doing, I'm simply changing the pitch of the prop, which changes the RPM of the prop. Now I'm going to increase the manifold pressure a little bit by pushing up on the throttles, and I'm going to do so very slowly. And if you look over at the indicated airspeed, this is how we've become more efficient. And you're going to see that airspeed go up and up and up. I'll increase it a little more. And a little more. Look at that. We are gaining some serious speed. We're picking it up very nicely. Very good. Let's leave it at, let's leave the manifold pressure, and let's leave it at about, there we go, 40. Now, we can look over on the digital readout of the fuel flow. As you can see, based on what I've done, the fuel flow in gallons per hour is dropping. So right now it's at 271 gallons an hour. 270. As the air gets thinner, that is what happens. The engines simply do not need to work as hard, therefore you don't need as much thrust. You don't need the propellers going through the air. So, okay, let's just bring that up. See how it dropped a little bit on the manifold pressure? Let's bring that up a little more. Yeah, and believe me, we've got plenty more throttle to mess with here. There we go. And I know that made the fuel flow jump a bit. But we are continuing to gain speed even while maintaining a climb rate of, well, the autopilot decided to go up on its own. 750 feet a minute, approximately. Running into a little bit of turbulence. We'll get above that. As you know, when the sun begins to go down, the atmosphere begins to cool. But the water and land temperature cools off much slower, so hot air, cold air, you've got yourself a little bit of turbulence. Well, the transponder code didn't go where it needed to be. Let's clear it all the way then. 1, 2, 0, 0. There we go. Alright. Looking good. Alright. Let's take a look outside. There we go. Beautiful view, huh? Beautiful view. Wow, look at that. Alright, I figured that you would rather watch the aircraft fly for a while than listen to me talk over it. I know I would. But here we are, only 1,000 feet away. Now, one thing that we will do that the checklist does not go into, I believe, let me just check this out. Maybe it does. Let's see here. Once this maneuver the fuel control's over, we're not going to do that because it feeds off of the mains anyway. Now we can actually look at that down here. I'll just double check the amount of fuel here. Carburetor temperature is a little on the cool side. Let's go ahead and turn on the and I don't know if they fixed this or not. Let's see if the supercharger. Let's see if it works. Here we go, because it's at around 10,000, close to 10,000 that we do need to turn it on in the first place. So let's turn on the supercharger. Let's see if we can do it gradually. Nope, it's either on or off. Here we go, level off at 2,000, I'm sorry, 10,000 feet, which is where you want to be. And the manifold pressure is holding. We can have plenty of fuel. So the supercharger's on, looking good. Let's look at what it wants us to do in cruise. Okay. We just did that. Okay, so supercharger, it is on, and high gear, well, there's only one setting. It doesn't allow you to go from low to high. It's just in other words, it doesn't allow any gradual steps. It's either low or high. Throttle 30 inches of mercury. Where are we here? The problem with that is if we were to go back to 30, watch what happens to our speed here. Now we are flying through 0 degrees Celsius, and we are flying through visible moisture at the same time. So we're gonna throw on the prop de-ice, that is. That's really the only anti-ice system that we have. I don't see any ice forming on the wing. Nope. Looking good. See if we need to. No, that's the starter. Speedo heat is already on. Prop de-ice. So as you can see, we really don't have any kind of an anti-icing system on the aircraft. But like I said, the wings are clean. Or I should say the left wing is clean. If the left wing is clean, the right wing is going to be clean. We can go ahead and check that out. And the right wing, as well as the pitot tube, is clean. We'll leave the prop prop de-icing system turned on for now, even though something tells me that they did not simulate icing on this aircraft. Alright, back to where we were. Cowling fan switch to half, oil cools to half. Well, the issue with that is it doesn't give us a half setting. You don't know what half is. And the other thing is this: if you were to open the cowl flaps at this temperature, that wouldn't be good. Why is that? Let me show you why. If we look over here at the carburetor air temp, and I'm sorry that says close far in as it allows me to zoom. You'll see it's just above 0 degrees Celsius. If we were to open the cowl flaps, then colder air would come in into the cowling, hence the name. And because let me rephrase, what happens is you open the cowl flaps as this airplane is designed by Microsoft and or Asobo. Those tiny doors that open. Okay, so let's say that they got it right, which they didn't, but let's say they did. Those doors, when they're closed, those doors help trap that engine heat inside the cowling. So you want that heat as much as you can keep it in, especially when you're up here at 10,000 feet and the temperature is on the freezing line of 0 degrees Celsius and or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Alright. But that's according to the Grumman G1000. If we look at the old-fashioned temperature display here on the right, it's giving us an indication of 1, possibly 2 degrees Celsius, which is roughly 34 degrees Fahrenheit. So in theory, the engines wouldn't be icing up. The props would not be icing up. If we were picking up any ice whatsoever, it'd be a little bit on the leading edge of the wing, leading edge of the tail, and leading edge and on the nose, as well as on the two pillars here between the front 3 panes of glass. They would begin to ice up as well. And they're not. Alright, let's look at where we are in the scheme of things. This airplane is moving along quicker than you think. It really is. As you can see, the autopilot has the elevator trim down as far down as the trim is going to go. And as you can see, we are over a quarter of the way there. And if we look over here, let's just do one thing and then we'll get back to more fun things to talk about. The carburetor temp wants you to do something about it. If we look at the engine indicators down here, we can see if we look at the very bottom, we have fuel quantity, above the fuel temperature, which is very fine. Cylinder head temperature, it's actually warm. It's actually a little bit in the yellow band. Oil pressure, oil temperature, everything looks good. So let's just do this. Carburetor temp. Let's see if we can get that cylinder temp down a little bit. Let's see if it agrees with the old-fashioned gauge up here. 200 degrees C on the left engine, 210 degrees C on the right. And there's also a significant difference in fuel flow left engine versus the right. We'll address that momentarily. Alright, cylinder head temp. Let's open those tiny doors that they call cow flaps into the halfway position. But since we don't have any way to monitor that, in other words, what they did not do, they did not give us a gauge at which for us to look at the where the cow flaps are when we push those switches into the open position. We have to kind of stop and look outdoors and see where they are. Something tells me that it's more of a, the moment you hold the switch down, it immediately opens them all the way up. Let's see if that did anything to the cylinder head temp at all. I mean, in theory it wouldn't. It wouldn't do it immediately is what I should say. No. But that is on the checklist for a cruise. I mean, it does give you more drag. I mean, there's no way around that. Let's see what the oil temperature is, because it was also wanting us to open up the oil cooling doors a little bit. 3, 4, 5. Got it. Those are the doors on the bottom. Let's see if we can get them to close. All the way. Alright. Now let's double check to make sure that the cow flaps are just those two little tiny doors on the side. Yeah, that's what they that is what they modeled. Okay. Let's see if it makes any difference on the airspeed. It should. Did the cylinder head temp come down at all? No, it did not. Alright. Let's close them up. Something tells me that it's just that much, and they'll close right up. Hard to tell. Hold it a little bit longer, I guess. It would be nice if they gave us in real life. There is a tiny little needle for both of them. It's a little gauge, and it gives you an indicator as to where they are. All right, That's cleaned up. Let's look at the airspeed again. Going back up? Yes, it is. A little bit. Alright. And don't worry, the clean kit and the oil strap valves, none of that works. So, alright. Let's get back to what I told you we would talk about. And that is the aircraft itself. So, what we're looking at here is let's just go over the basics of what the engine management and performance optimization is for this aircraft, because it does have some quirks, without question. Why this one button is flashing, I have no idea. The menu button. Alright. Let's just go over a few things that I promised as I told you I would. What it would really want us to do is reduce the man, and this is going from the actual book, but I can tell by the way the airplane handles, and by the way the engines are functioning, we would never be able to do this at 10,000 feet. There's just no way. What the book really wants us to do, maintaining 10,000 feet, we would have to bring the engine manifold back to 20 inches, and right now we've got it at about 43. I mean, if we were to bring it back to 20 inches of mercury, I'm sorry, 20 inches of manifold, it would manifold pressure at 20 inches, we would be dropping like a brick, and that wouldn't be good. And then what it would want you to do with regard to the supercharger, it would want you to gradually increase it every 5 minutes. And then once it would be set, then what we would do, usually around they would want us to do it over the course of. I'll just simplify it because even the book makes it a little complex. It would want us to gradually increase the manifold to 20, which doesn't make any sense. Lowering it to 20, then turning on the supercharger gradually, which obviously, as you can see, it doesn't allow us to do that, but then we would gradually increase the engine to where we could get the engine power back to 25 inches of manifold. Even that isn't enough to keep us moving along at 10,000 feet. So, yeah, they have some work to do, but let me give you some more interesting facts about the aircraft, and I do add that here. Let me just pull that up here. I had it all set up. Back in the day, it was originally designed and built for the Air Force, the Navy, and the Coast Guard. And if you look at it, if you put on your imagination hat just a little bit, see if we can fly into the sun without blinding you. Yeah, I'll just leave it like this. If you're wondering, can we fly higher? We could. We can go to 12,500, but that would be it. Anyway, while you're looking at that, I'll continue to read here. If you're wondering where I get information about this, I have a very, very length. Well, not lengthy isn't the right word, but I do have a very let's just say a very comprehensive collection of aviation books that date back to the 1930s, and so you could say I have a nice little library of aviation books, and that is where I get a lot of my information from. And I can compare performance data against what the Simulator 2024 wants us to do. But anyway, as you can see, if you look at the hull, if you look at the just look at the aircraft overall, you can see how it would have been perfect back in the day as a search and rescue aircraft. Because if you were searching for, let's say, a downed flight crew, what you could do is you could drop way down, especially with this version, which is this is the uh, the long range version of the Albatross with those two drop tanks that gives a lot more range. And we'll get into range in just a minute, but and again, technically, this is known as the Grumman Albatross G111, but the amphibious capabilities of it, given it's V as a very not just a V hull, but as you can see, the hull is what is known as a deep V hull. So whenever you go into land somewhere on the water, that is, you do have to be very, very mindful that you're landing in water that can support such a heavy drafting aircraft. But anyway, with regard to that, believe it or not, back in the day, did this airplane do it? I don't know if this particular tail number did or not. But there we go. That's a nice view. But on extreme conditions, if I had to guess, I probably did this in the 50s, toward the end of the Korean War, and then again during the Vietnam situation. The military would I don't know where they would. I have to look it up, but they would strap JATOs onto it. And JATO, for those of you that don't know what a JATO is a jet assisted takeoff. It's what they essentially are. They are rockets, and what they would do, if it was out in the open water or if it was on land, once they would reach a certain speed, one of the pilots would flip a switch, and which would ignite the rockets, giving it obviously a lot more thrust, so that they could get up into the air, up to a certain altitude quickly. They would burn out, obviously, very quickly, but that's what would happen. There is conflicting information as to what the actual cruising speed is, or what the actual, I'm sorry, not the cruising speed, but the service ceiling. According to Microsoft and what it says about the aircraft, 10,000 feet is it, 12,500 maybe. According to my information that I have, this says that it can go they can fly up to a service ceiling of 21,500. So I'm not gonna do that, and the reason we're not gonna do that is because I do not see anything on the panel that tells us anything about oxygen, pressurization. I mean, the engines have a supercharger, but I mean, outside of that, I simply know how they design the aircraft with a simulator. And with a simulator, if it doesn't have an oxygen button or some kind of oxygen system, the engine, well, the airplane doesn't perform well. But just a couple more interesting little pieces of information is trying to find somebody that still flies it. In my career, um, I worked for a company years and years ago by the name of JetNet, and we actually incorporated this aircraft into one of the databases. And this particular aircraft, um, it was for sale. It did not have the tail number that you see here on the tail. It had a different tail, but it looked a lot like this one. Oh, look at that view down there, the glaciers, and that is a beautiful view. Look at that. Beautiful view. Wow. Just gorgeous. I'll just be quiet for a little bit, allowing you to take in the sights. All right, let's look at everything here just to make sure that we are moving along as we should. Let's look at our progress. Progress here is pretty good. We, as you can see, we are. Let's go down a bit. We are over halfway there, and I think I can confidently say that the temperature indicators with regard to what temperatures they display versus what we can do about it, I just don't think that they've modeled. Um, I really don't. I do not think that they have properly modeled anything with regard to that. With this kind of temperature, the oil temperature, it would be lower than what it is. It wouldn't be running nearly as hot as what it is. I mean, it's not running too hot. It's running what it would if it was running on the ground, basically, or I should say, at like maybe 4,000 or 5,000 feet. The oil temperature wouldn't be any different. Oil pressure is good. Cylinder head temp. I mean, the only way to cool that down would be to open a cowling, but I mean, the cowls are behind the heads, so and we've already tried that anyway, and it all that does it affects our airspeed, and it doesn't do anything really. I mean, it just it doesn't dissipate the heat inside the engine cat. None of that. None of it. Just looking at everything else. Generators, amps are good, bus is good, looking good. That's the right. So the right generator is kicking out power, bus is good, batteries, and so both generators are kicking out more than enough electricity. Outside air temperature has not changed. One thing I am gonna do, let's look at, and with this kind of avionics setup, the best way to look at what your destination meteorological data is to simply open up FlightAware. I have it on my phone, and let's see what we got here. Altimeter is 30.18, so let's go ahead and just put that in there. Alright. Just making sure that the data is up to date here. Okay. As of, yep, up to date. Winds are out of the northwest at 9 knots. So we'll be landing on the water with the airport to our left, which works out very, very nicely. A few clouds at 1,800 feet, scattered clouds at 21,000. Temperature is 14 Celsius or for some of you 14 centigrade. The dew point is a 9. And again, the altimeter is 30.18. 3018, and there are no remarks. With the exception of there might be a little bit of fog in the distance, but remember, since the temperature is 14 degrees and the actual dew point is not as close, that means that you're not going to have any visibility issues once you get below that lowest cloud layer, which in this case is 1,800 feet. Okay, we got some pretty beautiful mountains to look at over here. Let's take in the sights. All right, let's adjust the engine just a little bit. Looking at our fuel quantity, and yeah, it's burning up. Even though that's why I said it's. They simply did not model this aircraft as well, and the reason I say things and the reason I criticize Microsoft Asobo and whoever the designer of this add-on may be is because, believe it or not, they do contact me every once in a while, and they have asked to see my video in the past, so that is why I do it. Let's see if we can get, since we know we're pretty close to destination. Almost 50 miles out now. We can bring that back just a smidge. There we go. Let's bring it back just a little bit. I'm sorry, move it up, the manifold pressure, just a tiny bit more. Let's see if we can get to a little more speed because we've lost a little bit more speed due to the winds. We're getting the winds are becoming more and more out of the northwest and just the north, which is really typical for this time of the year. Alright, let's go back out there and look at the scenery. Beautiful view. Beautiful view. You can see how the aircraft, you can see it very, very vividly how the aircraft is plowing its way through the turbulent air, flying over mountains like this. That is to be expected. Again, especially when the sun is setting and the air is the atmosphere is beginning to cool off. Unless you have a warm front coming your way, and or flying into a warm front, which I am beginning to think we are flying into a warm front. Why do I say that? Well, I just before we hopped outside, I looked at the temperature, and we are no longer below freezing. We are now flying into an air mass that is above freezing. So we're gonna, after we get done looking at some of the scenery, along with the beautiful Albatross, I think it's a very, very handsome looking aircraft. So, again, a very, very big thank you to the patron that wanted to see this aircraft fly. Did a very good job. And now it's up to 2 degrees, so 2 degrees Celsius, and there's no moisture really out there. I'm gonna turn off the prop de-ice, even though, again, if I had to guess, the prop de-icer doesn't do anything. It's just a button there that clicks up and down. In fact, let me look at the weather going up there. And let's look at that here. There is a low pressure system just to the south of us. It's got rain over Wyoming, Colorado, and a little bit over southern Utah and Arizona. And let's look at the 20. Let's see here. Let's just look at the. All right. Yeah, as expected, there's a low pressure system just the southeast of us. So that would make a little bit of sense. However, um, the turbulence, this makes perfect sense flying over these mountains and with the sun setting. Yep, makes perfect sense. Now flying into Port Hardy, as I recall, I've been there once, and as I remember, the terrain changes quite a bit. It's not nearly as mountainous as it is right here. The mountains are to the south, and the approach is very, very simple. And they do have a ramp, kind of like a boat launch, like back at Friday Harbor. If you watch the previous video in this series, the adventure to Alaska, when I landed in Friday Harbor with the Dornier Sea Star, it has a nice little boat ramp, and land in the water safely, slow down, line up with the boat ramp, lower the landing gear, and then you're on dry land, and everybody can get out. Okay, how far away are we now? We gotta be pretty darn close by now. We're within the 40 nautical mile ring. Yeah, we are. Okay, at 25 miles out, we'll begin to slow it up, and we'll begin to descend. Let's look at the terrain real quick. Like, as you can see, the synthetic vision here on the PFD. You can see that the mountain to the left, just behind the indicated airspeed to the left there, that is the smaller mountain that I was referring to, and the water to the right or just just in front of us. The water that you see just above the 296 degrees or heading, that is the water that I'm referring to, and the airport is on the left shore of that water. So, let's do something like this. Let's go ahead and, what's our range? 25 now. Okay. Let's go ahead, set it for 2,000 feet. And let's begin to descend at about 1,200 feet a minute. Alright? So 1,200 feet a minute. Does that sound like a good number to you? Good. Glad to hear it. Alright. A little more. And don't worry yet, we'll bring those engines back. We'll leave the prop setting where they are, and we'll just reduce the manifold pressure, the engine horsepower, if you will. Leave the props where they are because they do help us maintain a nice forward velocity. Alright. 1,600 feet a minute. Let's make it. Let's see here. Let's see here. Looking good. 60 miles to go. I simply want to get down and not not fly over it. See, with the sun coming in, the glare on the windscreen, I just can't. I can't see 'em. I can see the outline of the coast. I just can't see anything else. All right. Let's see what it looks like out here. Any better? Obviously, in real life, we couldn't say, hey, how does it look like from the outside? Um, Alright. I think. Yeah, I do remember. Yeah, that's the mountain I remember. And that really long island, I think it's just on the tip of that area, if I remember right. Yeah. Alright. And range to destination here. 12 miles. Alright. Let's really slow it up. Just about the horn for the landing gear. And let's just double check the weather. Just making sure that it hasn't changed since we last looked at it. And it has not changed. Wind is still 320 at 9. So we'll be landing almost directly into the wind, which is what you want. It's a very good thing. Alright, let's punch it up a little bit on the thrust. That's, okay, 1,000 feet. The airport is on the water. Let's do this. Spin the heading to the right. There we go. Should have leveled off. It did not. I don't know why it didn't. It's supposed to have leveled off way before that. It should have. The autopilot is non-responsive, so I've got control. Not good. Don't know why it did that. Autopilot is no longer responding to anything. I could barely see anything, so we were just above the tree line. Isn't that nice? Way to go, Microsoft. And Sobo. Bravo. Alright, how far out are we? 7 miles? Alright, I'll just fly it in manually. That's fine. That's fine. Alright, we'll leave the yaw damper. Well, we'll go ahead and disconnect the yaw damper here. Yaw damper is off. Alright. little slide and let's see here. Alright. That is a very good example of what can happen when you rely on the autopilot. You gotta keep an eye on it. For those of you thinking about getting in flying, if you do, always remember that the autopilot is never the replacement of the pilot themselves. It is simply a tool to utilize, nothing more, nothing less. You are always in command of the aircraft. Alright, let's bring this airplane in. Gear remains up. Landing lights coming out. And turn on the anchor light just in case, even though I don't think it is up and running. There are the lights for the runway here. Alright, let's... Now this bird needs a little extra room. You want to bring your prop levers all the way forward. And remember, looking at the water, you have all the time in the world to do it. Don't rush anything. We're coming in too fast for the flaps, so we're going to bring that nose up, slowing down the aircraft. And the speed should begin to drop pretty quick. Here we go. Flaps 1, please. And full flaps. Alright, let's look outside and watch. Let's look out here. There we go. Alright, let's go to the left here. And if I put us down where we need to be, and the rudder doesn't, the rudder is not all that responsive, to say the least. Let's do some differential steering here. There we go. Now we're going in the direction we need to go. For some reason, the rudder is not helping us at all. Yeah, we'll bring that guy back a little bit. There we go. Alright, now I need to go right. So let's bring in that left engine. There we go. Kinda gotta dance with the throttle to get it to where you want it to go because, sure, again, for some odd reason, it just doesn't want to cooperate with us. Turn off the beat. Alright, the ramp that I've used before is right over here, as I remember. Yeah, I can see it on the synthetic vision already. Oh, we got down onto the water just in time. Yeah, the ramp, I don't know if you can see it, but the ramp is just to the left of that pine tree. That is directly ahead. We need a little more thrust to the, a little more thrust out of the right engine to get us going left here. There we go. Looking a little better. You should be able to see the ramp a little better now. It's directly ahead. Well, this is a good lesson in water operations 101 right here. I would say. All right, let's get the landing gear down. Okay, for some odd reason it thinks that there's land directly under the water here. Alright, now the airplane should steer normally, although the floats are still in. Well, everyone, there you have it. Welcome, welcome to, welcome to Canada, and in particular, welcome to Port Hardy. Here we go, coming out. You always want to do this as slowly as you possibly can. There we go. As I was saying, welcome to Canada, in particular Port Hardy. Okay, it needs a little help getting up the hill, I guess. There we go. All right, let's hold short. Let's make sure that we don't have any traffic going down the runway this way or to the north of us here. Nope. And no. All right. Let's continue to taxi. Let's utilize the taxiway right here. It's not really a taxiway; it's more of a road. But hey, we're we're kind of in the bush in a way, being way up here in the middle of, kind of in the middle of nowhere in a ways. Although judging by the amount of automobiles, it suggests that we're in a yeah, those taxi lights should not be so tall. That's not right. Alright, let's bring it right over here. Alright. And let's see what kind of parking do we have available? Why those blue taxi border lights are in the center line? I have no idea. Alright. More than one windsock. That's interesting. Let's see. Let's park it. Well, everybody is full. We really don't have any other spot here. Where should we park, huh? It's looking like it wants us to park over here. Yeah, this really shows how big the Albatross is. It's a PC-12 there to the left, and the PC-12 is a good size aircraft, so it's looking like they want us to go over there. Let's do that. What I want to do is I want to get the tail out of the way, get it off the, let me make sure we're going to clear the wing of that PC-12. Hang on a second here. Yeah, that's what I thought. We're pretty big. We're big. There we go. Yeah, to get this thing to roll, it's, okay, that goes off the, yeah, we're good. Though, in the real world, number one, these aircraft would not be here. They wouldn't be parked like this. They would definitely not be parked on at an angle. They would be parked facing that they would be parallel to the taxiway, and they wouldn't be scattered about. So let's go ahead and just hit the parking brake. There we go. And let's go through the shutdown procedure. Okay, post way after landing. Okay, braking. Okay, lights. Yep. Let's go through the procedures. Lights. Let's retract them. Lights off. Anchor, strobe. Alright. Fuel pumps, those are off. I'll avionic, make sure. Alright. This is all very, very simple. Alright, let's turn off. We'll grab the generators here in just a second. Making sure we got everything up and going here as we should. Let's just bring them both off. There we go. We'll pull the mags open here. Make sure the mags are off. There we go. What do you know? There's the old JATO, the Jet Assisted Takeoff System. Obviously not simulated here. But anyway, here we are. It's a little stuffy here. Let's open the windows. Yeah, it feels better. Get some fresh air into the. Get some fresh air. Oh, that's right. There's one thing I forgot to do, and that is give you a brief tour of the interior. Pretend I am trying to sell the airplane to you. Okay, let's turn off the avionics, because that will drain the batteries very quickly. And drop the inks. It doesn't like that at all, does it? Alright. Well, we're going to move the fuel selectors to off. There we go. Hang on, just let's go. Come on. There we go. Prop RPMs, they remain where they are. Let's see if the gust lock works. No, it does not. Avionics is off. Nav lights off. Pitot off. Inverter off. Everybody else off, off, off. Alright. And the master battery is off. Alright, let's give you a quick tour before saying before we say until next time. Give you a little tour of this thing. It's a beautiful interior. Again, this is based on one that I am aware of that does exist in the real world. We could open that door up if we wanted, I guess, and go out that way. So you got two executive seats, the two club seating facing each other here, facing each other over here. And again, this, I don't know if it's still flying, but as of a couple decades ago it was. And it's just beautiful. Flying boat, flying yacht, kind of in a way. And yeah, it is. That's exactly what this is. Lights. Oh, they work. Look at that. I'll be darned. There's a sink. There's a little refrigerator there. What else do we have here? In the galley, I got some beautiful wooden cabinets. Although if you're smart, when you go into the completion, you would want to have a material that mimics wood and not real wood, just because of the weight of the wood. What else do we have here? In this particular configuration, a lot of storage space. So if you are going to go island hopping or something like that, and use this as your flying yacht, you could store a lot of stuff up here. There's your life raft is up here. As you can see, they just put some wood bracing up here on the ceiling to make it look good. And it does, it looks fantastic. See if we have access to the back. We do not. Alright. Well, I do know we can get out this way because we have a ladder. So, cabin lighting doesn't work at the moment. Which is correct because I turned off the battery. Okay, let's see if they've got the ladder down there. There we go. And here we are. Look at that. Let's see, how close did we get to the PC-12's wing? Get kind of close. Oh, we're good. They'll push us out of the way or push them out of the way. Again, the way they park them, not good. Anyway, everybody, and in particular to our member and our members, hopefully, welcome. Hope this is what you wanted to see. Hopefully you got something more out of this video than you do the usual YouTube videos, because I do give you more information about the aircraft and how to properly operate it. And it was a fun flight. It was a lot of fun for me to do it. The flight was a little longer than what the flight planning software had predicted, so sorry about that. But anyway, hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to know what the next leg of the adventure to Anchorage is going to be, it is going to be Prince Rupert, which is still in British BC, as they say, in the Pacific Northwest, BC, as the rest of us say, up in British Columbia. Prince Rupert, and it should be a stunning flight, especially if the cloud layer isn't what it was on this flight. Although this time of the year, clouds are, well, you're just almost always going to have clouds, unless you have a really big high pressure system moving in. It should be, just like I said, a stunning flight along British Columbia's coastline. And it should just be a really, really beautiful flight. And as always, the deal is for those of you that pay to be a patron, you are the ones that get to decide what amphibious aircraft we are going to fly on our next leg. So, and I'll put info in the description below as to what our next, just as a reminder, what the next destination is on our adventure on our way up to Anchorage, Alaska. What that next airport is going to be. And again, it'll be up to you. as to what amphibious aircraft we fly. And we try to stay 10,000 feet or lower as best we can because we want to look at the beautiful scenery instead of looking at scenery from 37 or 38 or 40,000 feet, which is fun, but you just don't really get the view of everything happening down low. So that's why we do what we do. So I hope you enjoyed this. I really, really enjoyed bringing this episode to you. I really did. It was a sincere pleasure. It allows me to share my aviation knowledge with you, along with giving me the ability to teach it. I enjoy teaching it a lot, and there aren't many people out there that do this, which is why this kind of attention to detail is for patrons only. And I'm going to end with this one last little statement. As soon as we get to Anchorage on this adventure, people can view it for a certain limited amount of time via the Patreon account here, for free to see it as something that you would enjoy. But after this adventure, we've got how many more flights after this? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 more flights until we get to Anchorage. After the 6th flight, this tier will be available for all to watch on a trial basis. The next tier up will begin after this adventure to Anchorage is done. And what we're going to do, every tier beyond this one, because this tier will have a set of video clips for this adventure only with a trial basis. All further tiers, once we get to Anchorage, all further tiers and or posts, those will not have any kind of a free window to look at. We're going to be putting more and more effort into flight planning, into bringing you aircraft that we partner with regard to developers, because developers are going to be interested in debuting it in that way, and we have no choice but to begin to do what we do on YouTube for free. We'll continue doing that because we love doing it, and we love sharing our knowledge and passion of aviation that way. But we will begin charging for all other videos after we get to Anchorage on this adventure, because the people that will be supporting us, not just through Patreon, but also on YouTube with the merchandise that we now have available, and that'll be going live here just by the end of the week. We're simply going to be putting in a lot more effort into making this the most realistic channel on YouTube as possible. And therefore, it's only fair to the people that pay to have some exclusive information that no other YouTube channel delivers. So we've made that executive decision, if you will, and that's the way it needs to be. So, with that said, have a great rest of your week. Have a great evening if you're watching this in real time. Because it is 9:51 and in the evening Pacific time here, and as you can see, it's still daylight time, and the farther north we go, the longer the days are going to be, so we can fly later into the evening without landing in the dark. So again, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your week, and we will be putting up the videos to Anchorage much quicker. We should be arriving in Anchorage in about a week and a half. We're planning on doing a video every couple of days for the remainder of this little adventure to Anchorage, Alaska. So, take care. Leave a comment below. And again, if you like what you see, you'll obviously be watching this via YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel and hit that thumbs up as we really begin to put together a channel that is unlike any other, whereby we don't just do, well, here's how this works, here's a new aircraft. Oh no, we're going to be doing things that nobody else does. So, again, have a safe and enjoyable week, and we'll see you again very soon. And until then, fly safe.